Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into the psychology of success by looking at something called achievement motivation. We're going to break down that key psychological factor, the one that separates the good performers from the truly great ones.
It's the ultimate question, right? Whether you're talking about athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, at the very top, the physical talent is often pretty much the same. So what's the real X factor? What's the secret sauce?
Well, it turns out the real differentiator isn't in the body, it's in the mind. It's that mental edge. Some people call it will or drive or guts, but really it all comes down to how we are motivated to achieve.
Okay, so if it's all about the mind, let's start at square one. Before we can really get into what drives us, we need to have a really solid handle on what motivation even means in a performance setting.
Think about it like a car. The intensity of your effort is the engine. It's how much gas you're putting on, how much power you're generating. But the direction of your effort, that's a steering wheel. It decides if you're even on the right road to begin with. You absolutely need both working together to get where you want to go. So the first big theory we're going to look at frames motivation as this constant battle that's happening inside all of us. It's like a perpetual tug of war between two really powerful opposing forces. And that brings us to what's called the need achievement theory. The big idea here is that every single time we face a challenge, we're stuck in this approach avoidance conflict. See, part of you wants to charge full steam ahead towards success, but another part of you is whispering, hey, maybe we should back off so we don't fail. Now, this internal tug of war, it tends to create two general types of people. You have your high achievers, who are really pulled forward by the idea of success. They're thinking about the pride, the feeling of accomplishment. Then you have low achievers, who are mostly pushed by the fear of failing. Their main focus is on just avoiding that feeling of shame. What's super interesting here is how all these pieces come together. It's not just about your personality. The theory shows how your internal drive, that succeed versus avoid failure thing, actually interacts with the situation you're in. Like, what are the odds of you succeeding? And how sweet is the reward? All those factors combine, and that's what determines if you step up to a challenge or shy away from it.
Okay, that theory is a fantastic starting point, but it kind of frames success and failure as this simple win or lose battle. But what if the real key isn't the outcome, but how we define success for ourselves in the first place?
Yeah, think about that for a second. This question is really the key to unlocking a whole other layer of motivation. It challenges this default idea that achievement is all about beating somebody else, and it opens the door to a much more personal, internal way of looking at things. And that leads us straight to our next big idea, goal orientation theory. The core concept here is that deep down, we're all driven to feel competent and successful. But the crucial part, the real game changer, is how we choose to prove that success to ourselves. So this theory basically gives us two completely different mindsets. A task-oriented person is using an internal scorecard. For them, success is hitting a personal best, mastering a new skill, or just knowing they gave it their absolute all. But an ego-oriented person, they're looking at the public leaderboard. Success for them is all about being better than other people and winning. And this, right here, is where the real power is. A task-oriented mindset is just, well, it's more durable. Since the only person you're competing against is the person you were yesterday, you're way more likely to push through setbacks, put in more effort, and actually see challenges as a chance to get better. Your confidence isn't so fragile because it's not tied to beating someone else on one specific day. So this brings us to the dark side of all this, the villain of our story, if you will. There's a very specific combination of these mindsets that can be incredibly damaging, not just to your performance, but your overall enjoyment of, anything. And here it is. The real danger zone is being super high in that ego orientation without having a strong foundation of task orientation to back it up. This is what we call the ego trap. And when winning is everything and personal growth means nothing, you're basically setting yourself up for a world of hurt. When you fall into this ego trap, the consequences are pretty severe. Things you used to love become way less enjoyable because they just feel like a constant high-stakes competition. If you start to doubt you can win, you'll actually start avoiding challenges. You'll give up easier when you're behind. It can lead to a ton of anxiety. Your entire focus just shifts away from the process of getting better and onto the fragile outcome of winning. Okay, so we know the theories. We know the big trap to avoid. So what do we do about it?
How can coaches, teachers, leaders, or even just us in our own lives create an environment that builds that healthy, sustainable kind of motivation?
Well, the answer really lies in this concept called a motivational climate. This is basically the psychological atmosphere that a leader creates. Through what they say, the feedback they give, and how they structure things, they're constantly sending signals about what's really valued. Is it personal effort or is it public victory? And you probably guessed it, there are two main types. You've got a mastery climate, which is all about fostering that task orientation. It focuses on development, it recognizes effort, it values improvement. And then you have the opposite, an ego climate, which pumps up ego orientation. It's all about winning, constantly comparing people, and ranking them against each other. Now, to make this really practical, coaches and educators actually use something called the target model. It's a fantastic framework for intentionally building one of these positive mastery climates. It covers everything from setting personalized tasks and giving people a voice, to recognizing effort privately and evaluating based on personal improvement, not just the final score.
So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway from all the research. While an ego climate might squeeze out a few wins in the short term, it almost always comes at the cost of burnout and anxiety. It's the mastery climate that builds long-term success, genuine enjoyment, and great teamwork. It's the sustainable path to helping people reach their absolute full potential. And that really leaves us with one final big question, a question for you to think about in your own life. When it comes to the things that matter to you, what's your definition of success? Are you racing against everybody else, constantly checking that leaderboard? Or are you racing against yourself, just trying to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday? Because the answer to that, well, that might just be the key to everything.